hit the air. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout, of course, when we overreact to the football weekend. And what a day it is to overreact.
There is a lot.
A lot to overreact to. Let's start with my 3 big thoughts. Thought number 1, look past the streak.
Which is exactly what you've been preaching not to do for years now.
What I mean by that, let me explain.
Wrong.
So you might have heard that there were some significant streaks that ended on Friday.
Like, I don't know, the 2 longest ones.
So the 2 longest regular season winning streaks in the state went down on the same night within about an hour of one another.
Mm-hmm.
The longest was, of course, Allen's 84-game regular season winning streak, their home winning streak that stretched back to 2010.
Mm-hmm.
They never lost at Allen Eagle Stadium. Vamoose gone.
You know what I realized?
Hmm.
I've covered that game for like the past 3 years, watching to see if the streak ended. And the one time I wasn't there.
Who was it? Lauren Callender, I think.
Mm-hmm. The one time.
Atascocita comes to Allen, and I mean, let's just be honest about them. They whipped them. They were the better team. There was no doubt about that. Allen came in, or Atascocita came in, and they took it. Plain and simple. And I mentioned this on scoreboard, but I'll mention it here. Do not underrate the fact that this was a Houston team that did this. This is a huge, huge win in the ongoing war between DFW and Houston. This is a massive win for the Houston area, to not only for Atascocita, but for the Houston area writ large. There was that one. The second longest regular season winning streak in the state, also came to an end as Denton Geyer beat Denton Ryan 14-7 in overtime. Denton Ryan had won 60 consecutive regular season games. What I mean by by looking past the streak is that a lot of the headlines about those 2 games are going to revolve around who lost. Who are going to revolve around, oh my gosh, Denton Ryan loses a regular season game. Oh my gosh, Allen loses at home. I would look to the other side and tell you that there's a lot to be gleaned from the victorious parties in these games.
Mm-hmm.
For Atascocita, if you weren't already on board the Eagles train, you should probably hop on board right now. It's filling up. That team is legit. That team is not some fly-by-night team. I know that Katy and North Shore are such behemoths down there in the Houston area in the 6A ranks, but Atascocita's right up there, okay? Gavin Sessions, a playmaker. Keith Wheeler, the wide receiver. They had a number of big-time playmakers on the outside. Chase Sewell, I want to say is his name, who went nuts. The defense made big plays. Their offensive line led by Cam Dewberry is serious. Atascocita is big doings. They are far more than just the team that beat Allen.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it for Denton Geyer, I think, is really impressive because they beat Ryan at their own game.
Yeah.
They beat them. They outmuscled them. And for all we've talked about the Rodney Webb offenses and all we've talked about Jackson Arnold, this was a game where the defense stepped up and made plays and was just gargantuan.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to do that, then both Geyer and Atascocita are going to rise to the level of legit state championship contenders.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive wins on Friday night. Thought number 2, expectation hangover. We are in we've now reached the finale of the first week of college football across the state of Texas.
Yes.
And I think that it's an interesting, there's an interesting dance going on between fans with regards to their expectations. I'll give you an example. On the positive end, UTEP is 2-0 for the first time since 2005.
Look at those Miners.
The Miners are 2-0. And it's all sunshine and daffodils there in UTEP. Never mind the fact of who they've beaten. Don't take a look at that. And never mind the fact that I watched the very tail end of that Bethune-Cookman game. It got a little hairy. Don't worry about that. They're 2-0, hard stop, and the fans are really loving it.
Yep.
Take the other side of it. Let's take Texas A&M. Texas A&M pulls away from Kent State and ends up winning 41-10, something like that.
Yes.
41-10.
It didn't look like that for most of the first half.
But the funny thing is, there was so much wringing of hands and wailing and gnashing of teeth among Aggie fans on a 31-point win.
Oh, yeah.
over what I think is an above average MAC team. But the expectations are so high there that I think it's so
that you forget that it's week 1
right.
and there's a brand new quarterback and you still beat them by 31.
Right. The expectations, they color everything. And so once you get, college football is such a year-round sport, right? Such a year-round sport that all we do is we construct what we think the season is going to look like in our heads. And then once it gets on the field, it's like we all forget how to feel. We all forget how to analyze football. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it was a very good week for most teams in the state of Texas. And yet, some you would know it and some you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an interesting dynamic there. And thought number 3, regional warfare. You were down in Westlake.
I was.
For Ewell's Trinity and Westlake.
Mm-hmm.
And Westlake goes and beats Trinity convincingly, I would say.
And that's the number 1 team against a top 10 ranked team.
Yeah, for
number
sure.
6 in the state.
For sure. Extremely impressive. We mentioned Atascocita and Allen. Coming up this week, we've got a number of them, including Austin Vandergrift and San Angelo Central.
Lake Travis and Rockwall.
El Paso Eastwood, and is traveling to Smithson Valley, believe it or not.
We got Amarillo playing Odessa.
Yeah, exactly. You've got these cross-regional matchups, and so this is an interesting, for me, from my perspective, weeks like this and what we're coming off of and what we're going into offer us a glimpse of the relative regional strengths and relative regional weaknesses that these teams tend to play each other that are within their own region, within their own area, right? Now here's an opportunity to see, how does El Paso stack up against San Antonio? How does Austin stack up against the Concho Valley? How does the Panhandle stack up against the Permian Basin? Right? How does Austin stack up with DFW? How does DFW stack up with Houston? Things like that. For me, I get it if you're a high school football fan and you're wake me up when we get to district play.
Yeah.
I get it, but from my perspective, there's a lot to be gleaned from a statewide perspective by taking on these by taking a look at these big overarching cross-regional matchups.
And I think it's really cool too. I mean, if you look at Westlake, the chances of them when they're playing in their district, they're not going to play really anyone who is in that top 10. They'll play Lake Travis at some point, blah blah blah, but from everyone else, they're not in that top 10. So this gives you a chance to schedule against other top 10 teams in the state. And it's who doesn't enjoy watching that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. So that is my 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker to Tyler quarterback Eli Holt. They came up short against Tyler Legacy, but I don't know if you saw what Tyler Holt did. Tyler
Kind
Holt
of popped off.
Tyler Holt threw for 642. Eli Holt, yeah.
Tyler quarterback Eli Holt. A lot of first name things going on here.
That is 3 first names in one name. Tyler quarterback Eli Holt popped up for 642 yards in their loss to Tyler Legacy. The Cujo offense was certainly humming. A helmet sticker to SMU quarterback Tanner Mordecai. We'll talk about this in our college football segment at the end of the show with Mike Craven. But we set the over-under at 4.5 total touchdowns for Tanner Mordecai.
Cracks knuckles.
He did that with ease. In fact, I believe he might have done this in the first half.
Yeah.
He ends up going for, let me make sure I get this right. Tanner Mordecai finishes 24 of 30, 317 yards, and 7 touchdowns passing. So that'll do. A wildly impressive performance in his debut as the quarterback there for SMU. A helmet sticker for him. And a helmet sticker to Clint Horizon running back Ernie Garcia. Ernie Garcia from Clint Horizon is the answer to the trivia question. Who has the state's single game rushing record this year? And that is Ernie Garcia from Clinton Horizon, who ran for, let me make sure I got this right, 432 yards. Clint Horizon running back Ernie Garcia.
Dude, can you imagine waking up the next morning after doing that?
Yes.
Your legs hurt at that point.
Congratulations, Ernie Garcia. Helmet sticker for you. Three teams to watch. I thought the most impressive team of the weekend was Timpson.
The Bears.
The Bears, in a game thrown together kind of at the last minute,
Shout out Matt Stubb.
ended up playing Wascom, a state-ranked 3A team, and kind of beat them up and down.
Yeah.
Terry Bussey went nuts in this game. Timpson is legit. If you look at our computer rankings at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, TexasFootball.com, they're actually the number one team right now in 2A Division 1. But Timpson's for real, and I think if they weren't already the favorite in Region 3 of 2A Division 1, they are now. TCU. This is a game that all of the attention that got paid last week to Texas or to Texas Tech or what did A&M do or this, that, or the other, things like that. I feel like this is a performance that's flying under the radar. I thought TCU looked great, and I get it. It's Duquesne, okay? I get it. I understand. But they looked every bit the part of a Big 12 contender in their win. I mean, they did what you expect them to do. 45-3. This game was 35-0 at halftime. Max Duggan was great. They ran the ball exceptionally well. The defense locked down a Duquesne team that, yes, it's an FCS team, but I was very impressed with what we saw from TCU. An extremely efficient game from them. So keep an eye on the Horned Frogs. And team to watch, Donna North. The Mighty Chiefs are 1-0, snapping a 30-game losing streak. Congratulations to the Chiefs. They get the big win, and Coach Juan Cuevas coming up with the big win. They snap a 31-game losing streak. Congratulations to them. 3 to see, 3 games to keep an eye on for next week.
It's that regional pick.
Lake Travis and Rockwall. I'm extremely interested in this because I think this is a huge test for the Lake Travis defense. And furthermore, I also think this is a huge test for the Rockwall defense. Both have looked pretty solid, although I think that they have overmatched their opponents recently. At least, I mean, maybe Lake Travis with Arlington Martin is the exception. Here's a huge test for both defenses. And if make no mistake, Lake Travis is looking across the lake, and they're seeing what Westlake's doing. And they understand that their defense has got to live up to that kind of expectation. I think it's a huge measuring stick game for both these squads, Rockwall and Lake Travis. Bayou Bucket, Houston at Rice playing. I was surprised by this. Rice is only an 8-point underdog in this game.
That's got to be...
Now, Rice looked good against Arkansas. They faltered late, but they led in this game.
Yeah.
They led against Arkansas. Houston did not look good against Tech, at least after about the first quarter. So I get it a little bit, but that certainly telling that Rice is only an 8-point underdog in this one. But
that's got to be the lowest spread
in
a long time for them.
And finally, Salina at Argyle. This is a huge matchup in 4A, Battle of Unbeatens. Salina has had an extremely impressive resume so far, with wins over Melissa and wins over Paris. Argyle, you can say about the same. They beat Fort Worth Nolan in the opener, and then last week they drummed Pleasant Grove. Yeah. They have not lost not lost a home game since the opener of 2012. So a really impressive, another good measuring stick, I think, for both of these teams. Salina and Argyle is a game I've certainly got my eye on.
And I can tell you, I've known since beforehand, talking with some of the guys out there in Salina, that they've had this one circled on their schedule since they made it.
It's a little chippy between those.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to go up against someone, you want to go up against the reigning champions.
In a division higher than you, absolutely. There's 3 to see. That's Monday Morning Fallout. Hey, thanks for watching this clip here on YouTube. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, you can watch us live every weekday at noon at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, or here on YouTube. And if you want more of the best coverage of football in the state of Texas, check out TexasFootball.com and become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe.